welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Raisha Sehgal. Our cover story tonight, Indian Army has punished the Pakistani Army on 10 battlefronts of the 5th Indo-Pak War. Yes, it is the 5th Indo-Pak War, and like every time, Pakistan has started the war, and like every time, Pakistan will get its nose bloodied. We will also tell you where will India hit back. The question tonight is not if, but where India will deliver its decisive blow to Pakistan. Away from India, we will tell you how Ukraine has struck a symbolic and strategic blow to Russia. All that and a lot more lined up for you on the show tonight. The pattern has not changed since 1947. Pakistan's invasion of Kashmir began with terrorism in 1947 and 1965. The Kargil war again was invasion preceded by terrorism. Let's call this attack by Pakistan in April 2025 what it truly is. It is the 5th Indo-Pak War. As before, Pakistan has started this war, and just like every time before, it's Pakistan that is ending up with a bloodied nose and worse. In the last 6 days, Pakistan has been hit on 10 different fronts. A coordinated and crushing Indian response to Pakistan's aggression along the line of control. From Kupwara to Poonch, from Uri to Rampur, from Gurez to Akhnur, these are not just scattered incidents, these are battlefronts spread over 300 kilometers and marked clearly on your screens right now are the 10 flashpoints of Pakistani failure. Tuesday night marked the 6th consecutive day of unprovoked firing by Pakistan along the line of control. Last night, at the Kargil sector of Jammu, Pakistani troops opened fire at Indian posts. They hoped to provoke, but instead, they invited punishment. Every ceasefire violation has triggered a swift, precise, and powerful counter-strike from Indian forces. Kupwara, Baramulla, Akhnur. Multiple Indian sectors have been under fire from Pakistan, but each time, Pakistan's aggression was swiftly repelled by the Indian Army. Pakistan has historically used ceasefire violations along LOC as a cover to push terrorists into Jammu and Kashmir, with the melting snow opening up traditional infiltration routes, especially in northern Kashmir. Now, since Thursday, Pakistan's provocations have only increased. Tutmari Gali was the first flashpoint, then came Rampur, then Uri, Tangadhar and Kupwara. By Saturday night, it was clear that this was not a one-off incident. This was a purposeful escalation. By Sunday night, even Poonch was under fire. And the Indian Army did not just return fire, the Indian Army responded firmly. Let's now shift the focus to numbers, the real proof of Pakistan's agenda. According to intelligence agencies, at least 120 terrorists have assembled every single month since December right across the LOC, waiting to infiltrate. That's the number, 120. And these are not just random gunmen. They are trained for three kinds of missions. Number one, direct firefights, border action team style raids, and IED blasts. And this was no coincidence. This was preparation and build-up to the Pahalgam terror attack on April 22nd, claimed by Lashkar-e-Toiba's proxy outfit, the Resistance Front. India has responded not just with words, but with counter-fire to unprovoked firing by Pakistan. Just like 1947, 1965, 1971 or 1999, this is Pakistan's fifth attempt to provoke an Indo-Pak war. Despite opening at least 10 fronts and 6 days of continuous ceasefire violations, one truth remains unchanged. Unlike Pakistan, India does not start wars, but India knows how to finish them. War with India only ends one way, and that's with Pakistan's defeat. India is seething. Every Indian is angry, not asking if, but where India will deliver its decisive blow on Pakistan. We have been seeing in the past few days how Pakistan has mobilized additional troops and weaponry along the line of control. Not just that, Pakistan has moved key air defense assets and electronic warfare detachments to forward locations near the LOC. It has also been conducting continuous air readiness drills. These actions also include reinforcing the Sialkot sector with radar. In the latest, the Pakistan government released footage of its military exercises that are being undertaken in the anticipation of imminent military action by India. These exercises are taking place in Sialkot, Narowal, Zafarwal and Shakragarh. Pakistan's information minister said last night that an attack by India can happen in the next 24 to 36 hours. This is after Pakistan's defense minister said an attack by India is imminent. The question right now on everybody's mind is, where will India hit back Pakistan? Now, India shares a porous border with Pakistan. We already told you about the 10 battle fronts along the line of control. We do know that Jammu and Kashmir is highly militarized. So at this point of time, will India opt for a new route? Apart from J&K, Pakistan also shares border with India along both Gujarat and Rajasthan. This also includes Punjab. The total length of the India-Pakistan border, also known as the international border, is 3,323 kilometers. Remember, the 1965 war began in the run of Kutch. On April 9th, 1965, Pakistan launched Operation Desert Hawk in the run of Kutch. This was a prelude to the larger war that followed. So the question right now is, will India open the Gujarat front? Will it be across the border or an aerial strike? Well, earlier, I spoke to Major General Sanjay Sohi, Defence and Strategic Affairs Analyst, and this is what he had to say.
Believe in surprise factor. If the Pakistan is ready in J&K, we can open Gujarat front. There is nothing wrong in it, because on the one side, if you see the Balochistan in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa area, also there are problems are there, the issues are there. Then the Sindh, there are law and order problems already erupted because of shortage of waters. Pakistan army has not been able to control that. We need to take advantage and also maintain surprise. Resha, if you remember, when Uri happened, Pakistan thought that we'll stop matches or we'll curse them, but we did the surgical strike. After Pulwama, they thought maximum we'll do surgical strike. Where did the air strike? This time, one major strike has already been done, that holding in abeyance the Indus Water Treaty. They are already feeling the pinch. And the second thing is again, I would say, the surprise factor which should remain, that we have the capability to carry out offensive across all over, right deep inside the Pakistan. We have the missiles. Agni missiles can go up to 5,500 kilometers. We have the Prithvi, we have the BrahMos. Surface to surface missiles can carry out, or ground attack can carry out. Airstrikes, Rafale, we have the Rafale. So all options can be exercised when the war starts. There's no hold bars. Here, I would like to discuss all the options. On the one side, our Navy is ready, the Air Force is carrying out the practice. We also have the different kinds of surface to surface missile, air to surface missiles, and also we have number of drones. All kinds of attack possibilities are there. Besides this, the army is also ready. So options could be only in J&K LOC area, or activate the whole border from LOC to international border right up to the Gujarat, or attack only the launch pads, or carry out blockade through the navy, and at the same time carry out attacks, because ultimately the aim would be to let the Pakistan army feel the pain.
Since independence in 1947, India and Pakistan have fought 4 major wars, and in every instance, it was Pakistan that lit the fuse. And every time, India gave a resolute reply, pushing back with overwhelming force and emerging stronger militarily. As tensions hit feverish pitch, let's now take a look at the history of the conflict between the two South Asian nuclear-armed countries.
Tensions are crackling across the LOC. Indian Prime Minister Modi has given the armed forces a free hand to track and punish the perpetrators of the Pahalgam attack. Islamabad fears an Indian military action is imminent. Over the years, the two nations have fought 4 decisive wars. Each major conflict began with Pakistani aggression. India hit back harder against every provocation. In 1947, in the afterglow of India's independence, Pakistan sent tribal raiders and troops to seize Jammu and Kashmir by force. In a swift and decisive response, India airlifted troops and crushed the invasion to secure the valley. In 1965, Pakistan's covert infiltration Operation Gibraltar met the same fate. India stormed across the international border, advancing toward Lahore and Sialkot, leaving Pakistan reeling and forced to accept a ceasefire on India's terms. The 1971 war was Pakistan's boldest and most disastrous gambit. After unleashing genocide in East Pakistan, it launched preemptive airstrikes on India. In just 13 days, Indian forces liberated Bangladesh, forcing Pakistan to acknowledge a humiliating defeat. 90,000 Pakistani prisoners surrendered. India had redrawn the map of South Asia. In 1999, in a stealth operation, Pakistani troops and terrorists occupied Indian peaks in Kargil. India's military fought grueling battles at impossible altitudes and overwhelming odds to defeat the Pakistani soldiers. Indian armed forces reclaimed every inch of its land. The world saw who the real aggressor was, and Pakistan was once again left isolated and humiliated. Pakistan is now on the defensive. Its ministers are warning of imminent Indian retaliation. Its military is bracing for consequences. History shows that every time Pakistan has chosen the path of aggression, India has responded with strength, unity and victory. As the world watches the current standoff, Pakistan's fear of a decisive Indian response is rooted in the hard lessons of the past. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
As tensions simmer between India and Pakistan following the Pahalgam terror attack, one fact is resoundingly clear. The two militaries are not on equal footing. Our next story takes a deep look at how India does not just match Pakistan, it outclasses it across land, air and sea.
India boasts the world's fourth largest military, while Pakistan's ranks 12th. India fields a formidable 14,55,550 active personnel, more than double Pakistan's 6,54,000. This overwhelming manpower advantage gives India unmatched depth for sustained operations and rapid mobilization. India's Air Force soars with 2,229 total aircraft, dwarfing Pakistan's 1,399. In the skies, India commands 513 fighter aircraft compared to Pakistan's 328, ensuring air superiority in any conflict scenario. Another critical edge is aerial refueling. India operates 6 aerial tankers while Pakistan has just 4, allowing Indian jets to strike deeper and stay airborne longer. India's rotary wing strength is also unmatched, with 979 helicopters versus Pakistan's 430, enabling rapid troop movement, logistics and close air support. India has frontline fighter jets like Rafale, Su-MKI, Mirage and Tejas. Pakistan's Air Force relies heavily on JF-17 Thunders and aging F-16s. On the ground, India's 4,201 tanks outnumber Pakistan's 2,627, and its 1,48,594 armoured vehicles utterly eclipse Pakistan's 17,516. This vast mechanized force translates into overwhelming firepower and mobility along any front. Indian forces are focused on modernization, acquisition of advanced weaponry and indigenous defense production. India's blue water ambitions are clear. It boasts 2 aircraft carriers, INS Vikrant and INS Vikramaditya, while Pakistan has none. These twin colossal fighting machines help India to rapidly deploy air power anywhere and the ability to serve as a command center for joint operations. India is a true blue ocean navy. Again in the sea, India's 18 submarines and 13 destroyers further outclass Pakistan's 8 submarines and 0 destroyers, ensuring control over the Indian Ocean and vital sea lanes. India also has a robust satellite-based surveillance and advanced missile defense system like S-400, giving it a 360-degree edge over its western neighbor. Simply put, while both are nuclear-armed nations, India is a military powerhouse with technological depth, strategic alliances and battlefield experience. Pakistan, despite the bluster, is vastly outmatched and knows it. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Let's now tell you what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. As US President Donald Trump completes 100 days in the White House, we will tell you about the hits and the misses and how the US President's successes, the victories are not just unique but also extreme in a sense. We'll also tell you how days after Harvard University sued Trump over funding freeze, the university has now apologized for anti-Semitism and Islamophobia on campus. And from India, we will tell you about the grand Puri-like Jagannath temple which has been inaugurated in the state of West Bengal. Indian Ocean ship IOS Sagar has shared pictures of its successful port, call it Port Louis, Mauritius, from April 26th to 28th. As a part of its operational deployment in the Indian Ocean, on departure from Port Louis, IOS Sagar undertook a joint and exclusive economic zone surveillance with the Mauritius Coast Guard. Next, IOS Sagar will proceed to its next port of call, that is Port Victoria. With this, the Indian Navy continues its mission of enhancing maritime security, regional cooperation and goodwill in the Indian Ocean region. Take a look. All right, shifting our focus to the Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine has struck a symbolic and strategic blow to Russia. A drone attack, to be specific, on the Kinburn Spit. It's a sliver of land located at the mouth of the Dnipro River and is important to Kiev's access to the entire Black Sea. Here's the latest as to what happened. On Wednesday, the Ukrainian Navy released a video showing a drone attack in the Kinburn Spit. The video appeared to show drones striking a target on the strategically important strip of land. The region I'm talking about is nearly 3 miles long and extends from the Kinburn Peninsula into the Black Sea, south of the city of Kherson. In June 2022, the Russian forces had occupied the Spit in what became one of their last significant territorial gains on Ukraine's southern front that year. And this is important. We say that because, according to Reuters, Ukrainian and European envoys in London have handed a set of proposals to the US officials saying that Ukraine enjoys unhindered passage on the Dnipro River and control of the Kinburn Spit. As you must have guessed by now, this is extremely important for Ukraine. Now, this area controls access to the Dnipro River, which runs through Ukraine, including Kiev. It also provides access from the Black Sea to the important port of Mykolaiv, which is crucial for Ukraine's exports. Mykolaiv is only second in size to Odessa among Ukraine's ports. And controlling this land allows Ukraine to showcase power into the Black Sea region. But of course, the Russians have been using this advantage since they captured it in June 2022. Just a day ago, on April 29th, the Ukrainian Navy said that they have retrieved and defused a Russian Fab 500 aviation bomb at the shores of Odessa. Ukraine demining experts reportedly retrieved the bomb from a depth of 20 meters, transported it to the shore and detonated it. The Ukrainian Navy says that until 2023, Russia dropped bombs from aircraft in Ukrainian territorial waters that is used by ships to export grain. But Russia is not holding back, launching deadly drone strikes on Kharkiv and the Dnipro, injuring dozens. On Tuesday, swarms of Russian drones attacked Kharkiv, injuring 45. Following the attack, residents, some carrying infants, gathered on the streets as emergency responders battled fires and also collected drone debris. Now, the attack came as the United States, which had tried to broker a peace deal, the United States tried to broker a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, said that it would step back as a mediator unless the two warring parties put forward concrete proposals to end the ongoing war.
But I do have something I can tell you that the Secretary said to me about the situation just a short time ago, Andrea Mitchell. We are now at a time where concrete proposals need to be delivered by the two parties on how to end this conflict. How we proceed from here is a decision that belongs now to the President. If there is not progress, we will step back as mediators in this process.
Today, the Kremlin has responded saying that Russian President Vladimir Putin is open to Ukraine peace, but it cannot happen as fast as the US wants.
Let me remind you that President Putin said during his news conference in Kremlin that he supported this initiative to establish a ceasefire. But before it is established, several questions should be answered and several issues should be settled. They were all listed by President Putin.
That was Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov addressing reporters on Wednesday. He said that Russia's war goals must be achieved and that its preference is to achieve those goals peacefully. He said that Putin had expressed a willingness for direct talks with Ukraine, but that there had been no answer yet from Kiev. Remember, US President Donald Trump, who says he wants to be remembered as peacemaker, has repeatedly said he wants to end the bloodbath in Ukraine. He has cast the war as a proxy conflict between the United States and Russia. On Tuesday, Trump said that he thought that Putin wants to stop the war and that if it was not for him, then the Russian president would try to take the whole of Ukraine. Remember, Putin's decision to send troops into Ukraine in 2022 has triggered the worst confrontation in Europe and between US and Russia since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. Even as the US works towards a peace deal for Ukraine, Russia is busy strengthening its partnership with ally North Korea. On Wednesday, Russia and North Korea started building a road bridge over the Tumen River, a bridge that would strengthen the strategic partnership. As stated by Russia's Prime Minister, the new bridge will be situated near the existing Friendship Bridge, which is a railway bridge established in 1959. That's after the Korean War. Now, during a ceremony marking the commencement of the bridge's construction, the Russian Prime Minister stressed its importance for Russia-North Korea ties.
Dear Comrade Pak Tae-song, dear colleagues, dear friends, I'm glad to welcome you at the outstanding event, the beginning of construction of a road bridge over the Tumen River at the border between the Russian Federation and Democratic People's Republic of Korea. It is a truly significant step in Russian-Korean relations. The significance goes far beyond just an engineering task. It symbolizes our common desire to strengthen friendly, good neighborly relations and increase inter-regional cooperation.
Он символизирует наше общее стремление к укреплению.
The planned road bridge, which has been in discussion for several years, will reportedly measure 850 meters. That is 2,789 feet. It would connect with the Russian highway network. The agreement for its construction was made during the Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to North Korea in 2024. According to Russia's Komsant newspaper, the bridge is expected to be completed by the summer of next year.
The construction of the road bridge at the border is a long-awaited, joyful event for the people of our two countries. This initiative holds significant importance as it will strongly promote the development of various cooperation and economic ties between the two countries. The fact that we're finally announcing the construction of the Korean-Russian border bridge brings great joy to us.
This comes a day after Russian state television released footage of North Korean soldiers fighting Ukrainian soldiers in Russia's Kursk region. The same day, Putin also expressed his personal gratitude to the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, and this was for the first time that Putin accepted North Korea's help in fighting Ukraine. According to South Korea, around 600 North Korean troops have died while fighting for Russia and Ukraine. A total of 15,000 were reportedly deployed to fight beside Russia in Kursk. This is U.S. President Donald Trump with his rousing campaign-style speech and signature moves at a rally in Michigan.
While we're fighting to protect Americans, the radical left Democrats, who are so bad for this country, are fighting to protect TDA, you just saw that, and MS-13 criminals, and you don't even know which is worse, but they are the top of the line.
And right, this was Trump's speech at a rally in Michigan as Trump completes a rather eventful 100 days in the White House, second time as the President of America. A quick look back will tell you how his victories are not just unique, but also extreme in a sense. When was the last time you heard of a president who went on a spree of signing executive orders, one after the other, or cracked down hard on border crossings with his immigration policies, or perhaps obsessed over a flurry of mass deportations? Chances are you haven't. Trump is also the one to dodge most bullets, with maximum lawsuits filed against him and his approval ratings plunging more than any president in recent times. In a recent interview with ABC News, Trump discussed court battles and insisted that his administration is extremely careful when it comes to deportations. Take a listen.
A major trial for every person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that came in. They're going to murder people. I can't have a trial, a major trial for every person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that came in. They're going to murder people. They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
In the face of it all, Trump stands firm and resolute, promising his supporters of profound change and a broader vision of Trumperica. In his own words, he said, and I quote here, he's just getting started. As you know, the first 100 days for any president since Inauguration Day is extremely important and critical, and pretty much sets the tone for what's in store. For Trump too, that's no exception. But be it his controversial policy changes or putting together a breaking cabinet, Trump has done it all. Not just that. What sets Trump's dream team apart is having the world's richest man, Elon Musk, as his faithful aide, whom Trump had entrusted with the responsibility of shrinking federal workforce through the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE as we all know it. However, in the past 100 days, what has been some of the most standouts of Trump 2.0. If you wonder, number one is the economy. Like I said, number one is the economy. Sure, Trump's move to impose tariffs have thrown the global markets a bit off balance. But that aside, the Trump administration seemed to have fared well, but in terms of slashing job and costly regulations. Add to that permanent tax cuts, which rather goes into the savings of middle-class households. Moreover, Trump remains committed in bringing about a resurgence in domestic manufacturing, now more than ever, thereby lessening reliance on its trading partners like China and Mexico.
We had 4 great years. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. The stock market went up 88%. We did great. And we're going to do better now, because now we learned a little bit.
Number two, upholding the Republican manifesto. It's clear by now Trump leaves no stone unturned in putting his party first. Speaking at a rally, Trump mocked his Democratic predecessor, former U.S. President Joe Biden, and hurled fresh criticism at the U.S. Federal Reserve's chairman. Trump also asked the crowd for their favorite Biden nicknames. On a lighter note, but on a serious note, the tiff between the Republicans and Democrats remains a full rager, with Democrats pushing back against Trump's tenure by brandishing it as 100 days of chaos. That's what the Democrats are calling. And moving on. Number three is renewed campaign energy. In the first 100 days of Trump's second term in the White House, federal courts have slowed or halted some of his most aggressive moves. But nothing really seems to be stopping Trump, who is adamant with his campaign roar of making America great again. One that won him a second tenure and a popular people's mandate. At this point, it is perhaps pertinent to ask how many of his campaign promises still stand. At the beginning of his term, he vowed resolving conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine and his resolve to forge a peace deal on day one. 100 days on, that peace looks elusive. With world leaders caught in limbo as far as negotiations and ceasefires are concerned, as a result, lives are being lost in all these areas every day and new fronts of wars opening up, with US as a key stakeholder. All said and done, Trump continues to assert his vows at rallies, speeches and pressers, and his undying resolve to put America first at all costs. 100 days on, his wish list keeps expanding, even as his report card shows a mix of positives and negatives. The question is, can he live up to his varied and yet unfulfilled promises and honor his oath to Americans? That we'll have to wait and watch. Well, and these are live visuals from the White House, where Trump is holding a cabinet meeting.
That we could be in the neighborhood of about $900 billion in savings to American families that would be substantially bigger than that $2,000 number. And the point that I would make, in addition to just savings cheaper to the American people, there's an aspect of wisdom when you're enforcing these rules that comes into play. And I'm your regulator for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and we found this small mortgage lender in Chicago. His name is Barry Sterner. He had a firm called Townstone, and CFPB had gone after him because he complained about crime in Chicago, literally the same thing that the Democrat mayor had talked about, and they came after him for 7 years on a redlining disparate impact claim and ruined his life. We overturned that. We apologized on your behalf to that individual, and we basically, without having to go through notice and comment, we ended the policy that set that in motion. And so that's happening across these agencies with how they are using.
And that was U.S. President Donald Trump holding a cabinet meeting. But moving on to other news, Turkey has been rapidly expanding its military deployment in northern Iraq ever since the Kurdistan Workers' Party or PKK declared ceasefire early last month. A leader of the Iraqi coalition, the Fatah Alliance, says Turkish military deployment in northern Iraq, including Kurdistan, now stretches over 80 locations. The leader adds that this deployment ranges from barracks and outposts to bases with heavy weapons. He claims that Turkish soldiers within the Iraqi borders now exceed 10,000. The Fatah Alliance is a part of the coordination framework that has major influence in Iraq. This coalition of Shia parties claims that after the PKK stopped its armed operations, Turkish forces have strengthened their deployment in at least 12 locations. Just last month, the PKK declared an immediate ceasefire in its insurgency operations against Turkey. The Fatah Alliance says that Turkish movements have since then reached over 140 kilometers and represents a continued reinforcement deep into Iraq. The alliance has called for increased pressure on Turkey to dismantle these military sites, stressing that there is no justification for the Turkish deployment. Ankara's military has been operating in Iraq for years under the pretext of securing its border with Kurdish militant groups, namely the PKK. Over the years, Turkish airstrikes and artillery shelling have killed many civilians in the northern Kurdistan region of Iraq, while Ankara's bases have also been targeted with rocket attacks. Shifting our focus to Gaza now, Israel is using deadly weapons against defenseless civilians in Gaza. For the first time, the Israeli Defense Force has launched the Bar rocket as a part of an artillery barrage in its war against Hamas. The rocket, fired by the IDF's 282nd Artillery Brigade, features a navigation mechanism adapted for challenging combat environments and is also capable of striking its target in a very short time. The IDF's 282nd Brigade is reportedly providing close support to ground troops operating in the Murak corridor. They have reportedly launched over 5,000 shells, resulting in an unspecified number of Hamas operatives being killed and weapon storage facilities also being destroyed. Now, this corridor divides Rafah and Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip. In short, the Bar rocket is an advanced weapon. However, as is often the case with strikes on Gaza, Israel is now testing this advanced weapon on defenseless Gazans. In the latest escalation of violence in Gaza, a deadly Israeli airstrike hit the Al-Mawasi displacement camp in Khan Yunis. I'm talking about shelters for displaced Palestinian civilians, which Israel has designated as a humanitarian zone. And the Israeli military now struck a humanitarian zone yet again. Videos showed the camp tents up in flames. According to medics, several people were killed in the strike. In response to these strikes and the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres once again called for irreversible action on the two-state solution between Israel and Palestine. Remember, violence has escalated against Gazans ever since Israel resumed its offensive against Hamas on March 18th. That's after a January ceasefire collapsed. Israel has now vowed to keep up the pressure on Hamas until it frees the remaining hostages still held in the Palestinian territory. So far, Israel's offensive on Gaza has killed more than 52,000 Palestinians. In Israel, the families of the Israeli hostages gathered in Jerusalem for the annual memorial ceremony for victims of all these attacks. Family members in the audience heckled in demonstrations as the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to bring home all remaining hostages in Gaza.
We do not let go of the sacred mission that is to bring all our hostages home, even in this hour.
We will keep fighting to destroy Hamas and act in every way possible to bring home all the hostages, the living and the dead as one.
We now shift our attention to North Korea, where the country has test-fired nuclear-capable supersonic missiles from its first-ever warship. The tests were overseen by its leader, Kim Jong-un, and his daughter. According to the country's official news agency, they also watched tests of the warships, anti-aircraft missile, automatic guns and electronic jamming guns that took place in the North Korean city of Nampo, located on the country's west coast, which is around 65 kilometers from capital Pyongyang. Last week, North Korea unveiled the 5,000-ton warship named after anti-Japanese fighter Cho-yeon, who is revered in North Korea. The warship is expected to be operational by early next year. Kim Jong-un said that North Korean Navy's next focus will be towards acquiring a nuclear-powered submarine as a measure to increase the country's deterrence capability, adding that he has called for the country to expedite and increase North Korea's nuclear attack capabilities. Amidst escalating tensions with the United States, South Korea and Japan, last month, North Korea for the first time unveiled an under-construction nuclear-powered submarine. In fact, North Korea has at least tested 6 new weapons this year itself, including advanced suicide drones equipped with AI and anti-aircraft missile system. Some days ago, Harvard University was suing US President Donald Trump over a $2 billion funding freeze, and now Harvard University is apologetic after it released internal reports that found evidence of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia on the campus. Here's what happened. Harvard president issued a formal apology after the university released 2 major reports with troubling findings that indicate widespread anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim bias. The findings are based on the testimony given by hundreds of interviews where students described feeling alienated and pressured to conceal their identity from their peers and educators. That's not all. The findings mark a crucial moment in the school's response to the tensions post the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel. More worrying is the fact that it boiled down to security concerns posed by Jewish, Muslim, Arab, and Palestinian students on the campus. And quite evidently, it does not paint a good picture for the college itself, which is known for its multiculturalism and its global student base. As part of the damage control, Harvard has pledged to review its academic offerings and admission policies, but much of the damage seems to have been done already. For the university itself, it's a delicate time, given the fact that it is under the Trump administration's radar over similar accusations that it has now admitted to. And that's in the aftermath of pro-Palestinian demonstrations over the Israel-Gaza war. Well, last year, 2 task forces were established to look into the bias at Harvard. And as per the Harvard director, the Gaza conflict fueled long simmering tensions on the university campus, with students feeling targeted or shunned based on their identities. The university is also fighting the US government's withdrawal of billions of dollars in federal funding that is extremely important to its research infrastructure. And the recent findings only act as a double whammy. In its bid to stand its ground, the proposed action from Harvard's end falls short of the White House's demands that the institution end preferences based on race, color, or proxies and implement merit-based policies by August. Not just that, the Trump administration has also demanded that the university audits views of diversity on campus and stops recognizing certain student clubs. This is a deal that Harvard refused to accept back then. And right now, the clock is ticking. for the university to overhaul its policies or face a full-blown legal war with the Trump administration. We now turn our attention to Nepal. The country is tightening the rules for climbing the world's tallest mountain, the Mount Everest. Nepal plans to implement a new law that will grant climbing permit to only those who have already conquered peaks of at least 7,000 meters. This is being done because for years, Nepal has been welcoming climbers from around the globe. And this has caused overcrowding near the Everest summit, especially in the treacherous death zone. The dangerously low oxygen levels have led to an increase in fatalities. In 2023 alone, 12 climbers lost their lives on Mount Everest, while 5 others vanished without trace. And all this happened the same year Nepal handed out a record 478 climbing permits. The Nepalese officials now seem to be drawing a line. Under the proposed rules, no one will be allowed to set foot on Everest till they have conquered one of Nepal's 7,000-meter mountains first. And that's not all. Both the lead Sherpa and the expedition guide must also be Nepalis. Nepal's National Assembly is mulling the proposed law. According to Nepal's Department of Tourism, as of this spring, 402 climbers from 53 different countries have already secured their passes to Everest. But moving forward, many of them might not qualify. Nepal has over 400 peaks open to climbers. Among them, 74 are above the height of 7,000 meters. And Nepal's message is clear right now. If you plan to conquer Everest, then prove your mettle by first climbing a 7,000-meter mountain. Liberation, unification and an end of a 19-year-long war. 50 years have passed since war ended in Vietnam, but the memories of the war are entrenched in the country's collective memory. 50 years ago today, North Vietnamese forces entered the city of Saigon, marking a victory for communist leader Ho Chi Minh. Saigon became the Ho Chi Minh city on 30th April 1975. 5 decades later, streets in the city are soaked in the spirit of patriotism. Flags and posters have taken over the city's landscape. People recall the end of war and beginning of a new era.
All these things, banners, the flags and flowers, everything on the streets. People are feeling joyful because this is the celebration of a great victory. I am very happy to live in the days of peace and independence.
The United States entered the Vietnam War to stop the spread of communism in Asia. It provided massive military, economic and political support to South Vietnam against the communist North. Over 500,000 American troops were deployed at the war's peak. The war became America's longest war until it withdrew in 1973. The war in Vietnam claimed the lives of nearly 60,000 Americans, many of them young soldiers drafted by their government. Some 3 million Vietnamese died on both the sides of what is known in Vietnam as the American War.
50 years ago, the decades-long Vietnam War ended on April 30th. In the years that followed, Vietnam repaired itself. Now armed with lessons from the past, it grew. Its economy is now an exporting powerhouse. It mended its relationship with its former foe, the US, which is now a comprehensive strategic partner, the highest diplomatic status that it gives to any country. But today, as millions pour into Ho Chi Minh City, it has new economic and geopolitical realities that it has to reckon with. The country is caught in the crosshairs of Donald Trump's tariff plans, and at the same time, it has to deal with the new reality of US aid funding being slashed. These funds were crucial for war legacy programs, which has been the bedrock of US and Vietnam friendship.
Well, that's all that we could pack for you in today's edition of Gravitas. We're slipping into a very short break, but we're leaving you with Gravitas Worldview. Thanks for staying with us. You are watching WION The World.
Imagine a world where owning your dream asset is just a click away, where wealth is no longer exclusive to the few. Tokenization, the game changer, transforming assets into digital opportunities. A revolutionary technology opening doors to a new era of investment. Don't miss Token Money Magnet, a bold initiative by Kalp Foundation. Only on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi